Welcome to the Future of Teamwork podcast, where we explore cutting-edge strategies to keep teams human-centered, drive innovation, and empower you with the tools and insights needed to help your team excel and thrive in today's rapidly changing world. Your host is Dane Grunewald, a seasoned expert with over 20 years of experience enhancing team dynamics and innovation. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Dennis Berry. Dennis is a master of transformation and an expert in entrepreneurship and personal branding. Over 20 years ago, Dennis was propelled into the entrepreneurial world. Dennis has an inspiring story of scaling businesses and harnessing the power of platforms like LinkedIn to skyrocket his influence and success. With over 110,000 LinkedIn followers and a significant presence in digital marketing, Dennis has proven strategies for success in the digital age. Listeners can expect to dive into the secrets of building a brand and setting up effective sales funnels. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or looking to elevate your team's performance, this episode promises to provide valuable insights and actionable advice. Stay tuned as we uncover the future of teamwork and entrepreneurship with Dennis Berry. So, teamwork makes the dream work, and we're here to inspire your next collaborative breakthrough. Gather your team or put on your headphones, and let's dive in together.
Welcome to the Future of Teamwork podcast. My name's Dane Grunewald, CEO of the Huddle 3 Group. And today I'm joined from Playa del Carmen in Mexico by Dennis Berry. So Dennis, I think you're our first guest from Playa del Carmen. Welcome.
Awesome. Well, there's a bunch of really amazing people down here. I could probably
bet.
find it for your shop.
So we're going to talk a lot about your work as a business coach, a strategist. I know now you're doing some work with LinkedIn coaching. And you've done a lot of work over the years around entrepreneurship too. So it's going to be fascinating to dive in. Maybe as a starting point, you could give our listeners a little bit of a backstory. Like, how did you come to be doing all this cool work?
Yeah, amazing. That's a great question. Great place to start. It started in about 1999, 2000, in the year 2000 or so. I was working at Cisco Food Service. Mm-hmm. I was a food sales. To go beyond that, I used to be an old ski guy. I lived in mountains forever. I was a chef. I worked in restaurants. So once I needed to leave that lifestyle, I worked at Cisco Food Service in food sales. And that was like my first adult job in the corporate business world. But I noticed I was working my ass off, and 60 hours a week, I was making like $80,000. My bosses were in their nice offices, and they had pictures of fishing and beaches on the wall. And they were making like 200 grand, and they worked like 30 hours a week. And I was like, something's wrong. And Cisco was like a $30 billion company. And we were making all that happen in the background. And I was like, I want more of the 30 billion, or at least a shot at it. And that's really when I started with my entrepreneurial journey, which has taken so many different twists and turns over the years, and good, bad, amazing, massive success, and then failure, tons of failure and mistakes along the way. And there still is, you know, and now it's like, I'm not failing currently. Everything is actually quite amazing, but it took a lot of work to get here, which is why I do what I do now, is to help other people not have to make a lot of the same mistakes I made along the way.
Yeah.
To shorten the learning curve for them.
And I love that viewpoint, call to action of sorts for yourself. One of our values in our group of companies is sharing success. And I genuinely believe that sharing from, whether it's your past experiences, your strengths, the opportunities you create in the community through your customers or the products that you bring forward, I think that sharing really drives some connective tissue for people. And I think it's that human connection that creates the real opportunity over a sustainable long-term sort of horizon.
Absolutely. Yeah. Without that human connection, we're really lost. Years ago, 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, the internet was, for those who were younger, we didn't always have the internet. And it was still relatively new. And what set your business apart 15, 20 years ago was having some sort of technology, like a website. Now, what sets your business apart is having a human connection. That's what sets your business apart, especially in our AI-fueled world right now, which is awesome. I mean, we need those things, but it's a supplement to business, not a substitute for doing business.
Yes.
And so a lot of people are missing the mark on there because they're like, let's just automate everything. And you can tell when that's happening. And you're going to, right now it's working if you spit that stuff out in volume, but eventually it's going to cause a problem. You're going to need that human connection.
Yeah. It's amazing how often I'll get hit by telemarketers. We all do. And I'd never buy anything off a telemarketer. But if someone knocks on my door, generally it's a young person who's being really courageous to go and knock on people's doors and try and sell them something or ask if they have a problem around pests or solar energy bills, whatever. Often I can really quickly move towards them and really taking seriously what they're asking me, because they knocked on my door and they were polite and they, responded well to my first one or two objections.
That's a powerful lesson. I hope people that are listening to that, I did a lot of sales, which is what got me really into what I do and able to do what I do. Because as an entrepreneur, if you're not a salesperson, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
And when I worked at Cisco, that was doing sales. And that was my first foray, and that was 25 years ago, into the business world. And I sold food to restaurants. I had to walk into restaurants and talk to the chef or the owner who did not want to talk to anybody, and build that human connection, build those relationships. And then what happened was I got into digital marketing sales. And what we used to do was walk into businesses. We would walk into strip malls and just go from store to store to store. And that there's no better way on the planet. You can go to all the sales classes and webinars and seminars you want, but until you go into every store in a strip mall to try to sell something, then you're not going to be as good or as effective at sales as you could be if you do something like that. And but I was able to walk in there, and just as you said, people are dying for a human connection, especially, and we're going to talk about this, right? About how getting people out of their jobs, working for people to build their own businesses. But most people they're very unhappy in their mundane jobs. And if you can walk in and break the walls down and strike up a conversation, people are craving that.
Yes.
That conversation.
They are, yeah. And they react in big ways to a good conversation. So maybe just before we jump into that whole topic around trading, getting out of the trade of time or your hours for money and entrepreneurship, maybe we can just dive a little bit more into the coaching pathway that you went on a journey in. So you started out, I believe, in coaching with, was it people recovering from substance abuse?
Yeah. So short story, which we talked about before we came on, is that I'm sober over 20 years, and I almost died thousands of times. And I started, that was April 8th, 2003. And I started coaching people around 2005. And back then it was a lot different. There wasn't Zoom and all the technology that there is now. And so I used to coach in coffee shops, and I had some shared office space for a while, and it was a different concept back then. And I definitely didn't have it set up and making six figures like everybody says that they are now, even though they're not. And so it was a completely different business model, but that's what got me into coaching and really understanding human behavior and coaching. And then I was able to really build it in different directions. But then I started another business, was rare coins and precious metals. And I was doing that to supplement my income, because my other business ventures like coaching, and I was a personal trainer for a while, I was doing all these things, but I didn't really understand business yet. And those businesses were failing, and I had credit card debt and a mortgage I couldn't afford, just like most people nowadays. And so I started selling coins on eBay to supplement my income. And it took off, and I borrowed some money from my brother, like $20,000, because I needed an inventory. You can't sell stuff you don't have. So I had to buy an inventory. And within the year, I was selling $250,000 a month, $3 million a year. And I learned so much about business then, because you can't not learn about business when you're doing that kind of volume. I learned about hiring people. I learned about e-commerce, merchant accounts, customer service, everything, so much stuff that I learned. And then that went on for about 6 years, and I made lots of money, changed my life forever. And then I lost that business, and long story, but it's okay. But then what happened was I got into more of the business coach. I was like transitioning between the business and the life coaching. And what happened was I started in the last few years realizing the potential using LinkedIn, using the power of social media and LinkedIn. When I saw what's really going on LinkedIn and how you can use LinkedIn to leverage and create any business that you want. So I really dove into that. And in the last year and a half, I went from about 1,500 followers to about 100,000 followers now.
Which is wild. I'm so
Yeah, it's
jealous.
really wild. Yeah, once I learned how LinkedIn really truly works, I just sunk everything into it and build my brand. And so that's what I do is I help people do the same thing and really
That's
set
neat.
up your funnel, your sales funnel, which if you have any successful business in the world,
Yeah.
it runs on a sales funnel.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then you're not as successful as you can be.
Yes.
So I help people set all that stuff up and build the life that they desire.
I like that. And you said, I know on your LinkedIn profile, it says master your business, own your life. So that's a great segue into this whole concept around getting out of that conundrum of trading your hours for money.
Yeah. And in my addiction recovery and alcoholism coaching, it was kick your addiction and master your life. I love that concept, because the real thing is here, and we talked about this before the show too. It's like when we wake up and we're breathing, that's the gift. Like everything else is extra after your breath.
Yeah.
And time is short. On Friday, today's Tuesday, I'm going to be 52 years old.
Happy birthday.
Last 35 years went by like snap of a finger. And with that in mind, if you're stuck in a dead-end job or a miserable relationship, or you have health problems that can be alleviated with some dietary change, so many people are so stuck, and we're covering it up with pills and food and alcohol instead of taking action to create a life where that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is, reach out for help or do some research. I exercise every morning. I just came from exercising.
Yeah.
When I go and I lift weights, and then I live in near the beach, so I go to the gym, and I'll go and lift weights, and I'm like listening to Metallica or some other kind of jacked up music because I want to get pumped up. And I'm there for 30 or 45 minutes, and then that vibe is over.
Yeah.
Then we have to shut that vibe off. A lot of people will take that vibe and get in their car, and then that's where road rage comes from. It's like you have to switch your vibe.
Yeah.
That vibe's over. Now, when I leave there and I go outside and get sunshine and set my circadian rhythm and get healthy, we have to go outside and breathe fresh air. Then I'm drilling audible books into my brain all day long. I'm constantly learning. And when you do that, then your life changes. It just happens that way. You can read fiction, nonfiction. You can do anything you want. How-to books, self-help books. Like if you want to learn something, learn it. And so I'm constantly learning and pumping things into my head. And if I don't know something, I ask for help. I have coaches. I have my own coaches and mentors. I have tons of them. I was taught, have an expert in every area of your life. So I'm not a dentist. If I have dental problems, I need to go to the dentist.
Yes.
If I get sick, I need to go to the doctor. If I have to go to court, I need a lawyer. I hate doing my taxes. So if I need an accountant to do that, otherwise I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So, and there's certain things I don't know in my life, whether it's business or other life skills, then I hire a coach or somebody and figure it out.
Yeah. I like that a lot. And I think there's a lot that you're touching on there that resonates for me. So I like to wake up and go surfing. I know we were talking about that before the show, and being out in the ocean, in the fresh air, doing exercise, enjoying nature, that just really opens me up to be more considerate, compassionate, a better learner in the day than, you're right, getting up, doing an indoor quick workout or stretch and getting in the car. So I think there's definitely something to be said for those early habits.
When the morning, yeah, it's like, I don't know how people sleep late. Success happens when everybody else is sleeping.
Mhm.
You want to get up as early as possible, set your mind in the right direction, and get to work, whatever that means.
Yep.
Sometimes work is meditation for 20 minutes.
Yep.
Sometimes it's exercise. Sometimes it's get on LinkedIn and start engaging with people. Sometimes it's different every day. Like I don't sit in a cubicle, that's for sure. But I have meetings here usually where you see me sitting. This is how I talk to people. If not, then I go to the coffee shop down the street and work there, and I get inspired there. Like I worked 16 hours a day, but it's not work. It's just I'm being Dennis.
Yes.
Like this is who I am. This is what I do. And I spend time on LinkedIn with clients. I do outreach. I have a team. I actually have a team behind me. I'm just Dennis, but there's like a team running Dennis.
That's very cool. It's and that's a good example of mastering your life too. You get to do what you enjoy, so that work isn't work. It's a journey. It's enlightenment. It's fun.
That's really important. Yeah, it's like I work on Wednesday morning at 6:00, and I'll work on Sunday night at 11:00 at night.
Yeah,
and I'll work at Friday at 7:00 at night too. I work all these weird hours, but I also go swimming in the Caribbean 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah,
in the middle of the day when people are in a cubicle or sitting in traffic. I also go to the gym at 9:00. There's life isn't so defined, and I like it that way. There's people that love the structure of going. My ex loved that. She loved putting on the clothes. She loved getting in her Audi and sitting on the highway and going to the office and showing everybody her Louis Vuitton crap and all that stuff. And she thrived in that atmosphere, and I didn't care. For me, I'm not impressed by that. But there's people that are, and she was happy doing it. She wasn't miserable at all. So I commend her for that. I can't live that way. And there was a lot of that we didn't see eye to eye on because of that. And, but there's nothing wrong with it. We need people that want to work 9 to 5.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. I mean, it takes all sorts of people. What do they say? It takes a village. Everyone's got to have different roles, different passions, different loves, and then you can all collectively achieve more together.
Yeah, I mean, the world runs on the way it runs.
Yeah,
there's like however many billions of people sit in traffic in California where you are every day, go and get on the 405 to go to work to make money to survive, and we need those people.
Yeah,
make the world over.
Yeah.
So,
but there's going to be some interesting opportunities now. That's why we're fascinated by the future of teamwork, because we can dive into entrepreneurship and the opportunities that creates for people that are willing entrepreneurs and their communities, because I think small business really drives the community in a much bigger way than large business. And then on the other end of the spectrum is if you've got a large organization with frontline employees, how can you bring some of that entrepreneurial spirit? How can you give a little bit more agency to your teams, even when they have to be in a physical construct of work, whether it's a cubicle or a manufacturing line or otherwise? So I think there's opportunities right the way across that spectrum. But you said something before the show which really caught my ear, and maybe that'll lead us into the singular entrepreneur first. You said, people say I don't work well with others. It's not that I don't work well with others, it's that I don't work well for others. And I've never heard that before. So tell me a bit more about that, Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, I've always taken the road less traveled. And I've paid the price for that. Like we were just talking about the people that don't mind sitting in traffic and going to work and getting there on time and changing dollars for hours. But and there was a time that worked for me too. Like when we don't have the skills to be an entrepreneur. Listen, the word entrepreneur, it's such a sexy word. People love throwing that word, I'm an entrepreneur, out there, but it's really hard. Being an entrepreneur is running a business, building and scaling a business, and doing the daily activities of running a business on a daily basis. It's really hard. It's one of the hardest things that there is to do on the planet, which is why, more than 9 out of 10 businesses fail.
Yeah.
Because we have an idea and we have to start here and we want to go here. But right around here, it gets really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And some people make it to here. Very few make it here. But it's only the 1% that put in the time. There's so many ads out there like learn how to make 6 figures a month working in your underwear 2 hours a day from home and bed. And people buy that shit, and it pisses me off because they have these unrealistic expectations, and those people are preying on those people with those paid ads.
Mm-hmm.
And but the truth is, it's like what I do is I help shorten the learning curve and to become a successful business. But the shortcut is 6 months to 2 years of building a foundation. It's not 6 days or 6 weeks. The shortcut is building foundational business, which takes a few months for people to even know who you are. You can run those paid ads. You can run 100,000 a month in paid ads and make 110,000, make some profit. But when you stop running the ads, the phone stops ringing because there's no foundation built. So it's really hard to build a real business. My thing is I didn't work well for other people. I didn't like when I was 3 minutes late because of traffic, like things outside of my control, and I got reprimanded. I'm like, who the hell are you? Like, we're all human. Like, what gives you the power to yell at me for being 3 minutes late? Because I just don't respond well to that. So us entrepreneurs, we're a rare breed. Like, we're willing to give up working 40 hours a week and a paycheck to work 80 hours a week and maybe not even make any money.
Yeah.
So it's a rare breed, and I'm willing to put in that time, effort, and sacrifice for what could be on the other side. And I've been able to achieve amazing results, but I've also had amazing failure at the same time.
So by working with your coachees, you're able to take them through the ideation of their business, or maybe they've already started their business and they're looking for a lift, and you can take them through a foundation building process for building their team, building their customer connection. Where do you really zero in and focus on helping them?
Yeah, there's two sides of it, and most have started already. Most of my clients have started already, and whether it's 6 months ago or 6 years ago, and they're stuck. And most are, because remember, there's a difference between doing your craft, which is doctor, lawyer, therapist, coach, or whatever you do, and running a business. It's a separate thing, and that's where most people fail, because they're like, oh, well, even a restaurant, like, oh, I bake good cookies, so I'm going to open a restaurant. And then you realize, oh my God, what goes into running a restaurant? Same thing with any business. The best lawyers in the world that don't necessarily know how to run a law firm. And the best dentists in the world don't know how to run a dental practice. It's like two separate things. And so what I do is help set up a seamless workflow, which is what it takes, because there's so many different pieces that go into setting up your sales funnel and a smooth workflow. And a workflow meaning, what's a sales funnel? So on top of if you think of a funnel, I'll just say very basic terms. I know you understand this, but on the top of your funnel, just picture a funnel. Don't overthink this. On top of your funnel, let's say there's LinkedIn. There's 1 billion people, or whatever the latest number is, on top of the sales funnel. We want to get people into the top of our sales funnel with, our content, with our profile, with some sort of something about who we are, what we do. Once we get them in, then we get them through to maybe a newsletter. We want to capture their information somehow. And the idea of social media is really to get people off of social media onto your website. It's so funny. I always see people, they get on their website, picture this. You go to your website and you just spent all these months or maybe even years trying to get people from LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or wherever to your website, and then they put their social media icons right on top of their website.
I've done
saying,
that
go
before.
check me out and see how awesome I am on Instagram. But why? You just spent all that time and money to get people to your website. You want to keep them on your website and to do something.
Yeah.
Right. And so you really want to hide those social media icons underneath in the footer somewhere,
Yeah.
And So anyway, from there, then there's like lead magnets, email captures, there's whatever, and maybe some courses. And then out the bottom comes your high ticket stuff, maybe some coaching or whatever it is that you do. So we have to set that up. And it's very hard to set up a simple, seamless workflow.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to do. And, but it needs to be done, because if it's not, as soon as there's a break in the workflow, they're gone. They're going to go find somebody else who has a seamless workflow.
Yeah.
And so I help people set up seamless workflows.
And that's a really good point on the seamlessness. So we see that even in the recruiting industry. One of our businesses is a large staffing business. And when a candidate's applying for a job and they're on their phone and all of a sudden they can't easily upload their resume, then they're just going to move on. So you've got to, anything that these days for all of us who are used to very convenient, seamless technologies, anything that makes me think, oh, I've got to stop this now and come back to it later, there's a good chance you're never coming back.
Never. And you only have one chance, and you only have 1 second.
Yeah.
You have 1 second and one chance. That's all you have. So it needs to be seamless, and things break constantly. So once it's seamless, you have to check it
All the
because
time.
it constantly breaks. The whole system breaks constantly. And that's why, it's hard, which is why we need a team to do it, because, I'm Dennis. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I didn't just happen to get 100,000 followers. I made that happen by building relationships, spending time, and helping people grow. And I don't have time to do that and test my website every day.
Yeah.
I don't have time to do that and do all the other 100 things that it takes to continue to build and scale a successful business. So we need a team, which is the reason we're here today.
Yeah.
We need a team. We're only as strong as our team.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Yeah. And solopreneur is a misunderstood term. It's not, I do this all alone. You can. There are certain business models where that works, but for the most part, it's a misnomer. It's not understood that
Yeah.
term.
And you said something interesting earlier. You said, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not a salesperson, you're not going to find success. If I was to challenge that for a minute, if you're an entrepreneur and you're brilliant at product, you make the best cookies, going back to your earlier example, could you not partner up with a really good sales person and bring them onto your team and find success together?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can build a team that way. I still think there needs to be some, even if it's not a direct sales method, there still needs to be that connection with who you are, or, or it's just a different business model. Like for me, I'm a salesperson, so I get people on calls, and like I'm just good at that, and it's my business.
Yeah.
So yes, you're absolutely right. There are ways, but then you're splitting the business up, and it's not just your business, and there's and that's fine. That's just a different business model. Absolutely. Yeah, a sales team is a great thing.
It's interesting. We had Dr. Ernesto Ciroli, who I reference often. He came on our show. He does a lot of work around what he calls enterprise facilitation. And so he says generally the best businesses have a product person, a marketing person, a finance person. They tend to be the ones that go forwards. What's interesting when he talks about the marketing person, to your point, they're the ones who are building the sales funnel. They're getting customer feedback. But it doesn't mean that product person, the baker of the cookie, isn't closing sales. They're just not building the funnel. But when the customer finally walks in the store and the chef comes out and says, how do you love the cookies? This is the cookie of the month. They're closing. They're building relationships. So I think also it's about broadening out your mindset around what sales is in teams.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, just sometimes sales is like just making an appearance, like you being, like I'm a classically trained French chef. I went to culinary school 30 years ago. Like I did all that stuff, worked in restaurants and hotels, and people are like, you should open a restaurant all the time. And I'm like, I will never open a restaurant. I was part of opening some years and years ago.
Yeah.
And I never had a financial stake in one, but I saw what it takes to really get one to work. And it's a lot of work. Yeah. And most fail just like any other business. And one of the main reasons they fail is they underestimate the time and the money. involved in a restaurant. And they end up financing everything. And then they're relying on working capital, which they didn't build into the budget. And they end up failing because they finance everything. So what I say is like, well, there's a reason I bring this up is because what I say is that I would open a restaurant if I had, X number, let's say $2 million to $5 million cash.
Yeah.
To say, I'm going to hire people, management, top all the way down to the bottom, to do everything exactly the way I want it to do. And then I show up 3 nights a week and make cameo appearances and shake hands. That's also sales, right? Yeah. That's sales. So that's like me selling, hey, I get to shake Dennis's hand. Like that's a form of sales. It's just not like, aggressive outbound sales strategy, but it's still good.
It is good. Actually, staying with the kitchen theme, did you ever watch Chef with Jon Favreau?
Yes, I did watch that.
Where he gets blown out by his boss. He goes and does the food truck with his son, and his son starts posting to social media. And next thing you know, they've got a bricks and mortar restaurant after their road trip.
Yeah, and there's always exceptions to the rule.
Yeah, but what was cool about that movie, I found it very human because he builds a relationship with his son, he's a little estranged from. But what was cool is that they use social media, which is what you're doing with some of your customers, clients, to really build that top of the funnel, to build that following. And that heavily de-risks the back end investment in whatever your business is going to be and how you're going to hire talent and, how you attract people to your brand.
What a unique time it is to be alive right now. And most people don't understand the importance of this. And if you want, I'll explain this. Do you want me to explain?
Let's go.
Yeah. Think about this. So it used to be, let's go back 30, 40, 50, 80, 100 years ago. You wanted to start a business. If you were an entrepreneur, you had a storefront. And that storefront was, depending on the size of the city, you had maybe 20 to 50,000 potential clients on the top of your sales funnel. That's it. And even if you were in a big city, you still only had that much because if you got outside of a certain circumference, now you have competition. Yeah. So you really only had access to about 50,000 maybe potential clients. Now there's 5 billion active monthly social media users and tons. Like that's a lot. That's more than half of the population. Yeah. Use the social media regularly to connect with people. So that is where we are right now. So what we want to do is we want to build attention. Attention is the most valuable currency on the planet right now. So if you think about this in old school terms for us old people, is like, why could like Michael Jordan start a sneaker line 40 years ago? Yeah. Because he had attention. There was 2-3 billion people that knew, like, and trusted him. So they started sneakers. Why can Serena Williams start a perfume brand or a clothing line? Yeah. Because she has attention. She's built that trust. She's provided value. So when she starts anything, she's going to sell $1 billion because she has that attention. So what social media gives us now is the ability to become that. Yep. It gives us the ability to build attention. So the reason most businesses are failing now, most online business models fail now, is because they're putting the cart before the horse. So they're building their course, their book, their coaching, their whatever, and they're like, buy my shit. But why would I do that? I don't know you yet. People do business with who they know, like, and trust. What we need to do is build attention. We need to build that awareness. We need to build that trust, provide the value as much as possible up front, which is what takes time. And then once we have attention, then we can sell stuff. Yeah. Then we can sell our book, our course, our coaching, or whatever, because we have a captive audience. But you can't put the cart before the horse, which is what people are doing now. So what I do is I help shortcut that process and help people become influencers and help people become have that attention. So then we do that simultaneously while providing value and building trust. And then we can also build that seamless workflow along the way. So in 3 to 6 months or a year, now we have attention and a smooth workflow.
Yeah, that's very cool. And that's a massive quantum leap from 50,000 potential customers to 5 billion.
And even if you cut that down significantly, let's say your ideal target, whatever that may be, and we can cut it down to 100th of 1%. Like
Yeah.
if you get 10,000 potential clients, you can't handle
You
10,000.
can't.
I couldn't handle 10,000. But if you can handle 100 and you have a coaching program that costs $10,000, then there's $1 million.
Yep.
You know, and then we create multiple streams of income along the way. And that's all very possible. And those numbers are low.
Yeah, I agree. So how do you make sure to that exact point, I only need, 100 or 200 customers a year. How do you build your attention in a way that means that you're not just getting lots of followers that you're entertaining, you're actually getting followers who are going to be meaningfully connected with your body of work, your passion, where you're likely going to take your product or service?
Sure. Well, every outreach method, you're going to get both.
Right.
You're going to get people that are ever going to be clients or anything, but success breeds success. So there's whatever percentage, if you run paid ads, whatever type of marketing efforts you use, it's a small percentage of conversion that end up coming out the bottom of your funnel. And so there are more targeted ways for sure to reach people. But when you're writing content, that's how we really connect with our people. I'm like motivational, happy, and inspirational Dennis. And when when I started building my attention, my audience around being that, and then I switched to a completely business model. And then I would go from like inspiring and motivating people to say, here's how to write a good business plan. And it was like crickets. Nobody was responding to my content. It's because that's not how I built my audience.
Interesting.
And what I'm trying to realize is that it doesn't matter who your audience is. You just have to speak their language.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was, now I talk about business in almost every post, but I do it in a motivational, inspirational way. And I tie it in with viral videos and other content that inspires and motivates people along the way.
Yes.
And now that's why I get the type of traffic that I do, where I'll get 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 likes on my post, because I'm staying in my lane.
Yeah.
I talk about 4 things only. I have my 4 big categories, right? And I stick with those. It's like inspiration and motivation, business, entrepreneurship, and marketing. And I stick with those all the time, unless it's like Merry Christmas or Happy Birthday, like whatever you
just stay in that lane.
Yeah, I just stay in those things because that's what my audience expects. If I start talking about science, I'm going to confuse my audience, and then they're gone. So we want to stay in the lane. And then we're going to attract some of the wrong people, but we're going to attract a bunch of the right people too.
That's very cool. So I'm going to flip this now from entrepreneurship in a smaller business setting to entrepreneurial energy in large businesses, in teams within large businesses. And what I'm hearing, Dennis, and let me know if you're open to playing this one out, building that attention and engaging in the voice of the customer could well apply to employer branding too. So if I'm a large company, let's go back to a Cisco, where, time you spent early in your career, and I'm really building a very authentic voice amongst my employee population and amongst all the people out there who might be employees or customers in the future. Can I apply some of those similar principles to bringing the attention in and then building a seamless workflow for people within the company to move, to do work in different ways, or outside of the company to join us? Like, how much do you see there being translation between the small business environment and entrepreneurial energy in a larger business?
So are you talking about like leadership?
Could it be leadership? Maybe it's leadership. Maybe it's leadership brands. We had a guest on the show, Matthew Winkelstein, who said that in today's era, people join and leave companies because of the boss, not because of the logo on the building. So maybe it is coaching leaders to tell more of their story and build more authentic connection with their customers and employees.
Sure. Yeah. And it's always the workflow.
Yeah.
Everything. And even in your own business, it's like you have to think every time there's a new product or service, there's a new workflow, there's a new funnel. And people get lost there. They spend so much time on one funnel. and then they introduce a new program, and so it's a new funnel. You can use some of the same, there's some crossover, but you need to set up a new seamless workflow. And in corporate culture, it's exactly the same thing. I mean, it's the best leaders are always people focused. And they're training their people on how to attract sorry, there's a noise going on.
That's all good. Sounds like a little bit of drilling going on. I can hear you.
Yeah, they're drilling. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's standard business principles that are just universal, and it doesn't matter if it's a 2-person business or a 2,000-person business. There's a workflow that is standard in any business, and principles that apply across all. So it's keeping people engaged is a requirement in any business, big or small. So I think, yes, it comes from leadership. It is teaching your people. You know what? I run. I have groups. These groups that I run, networking groups, mastermind group, and I'm sharing everything that I do in my page coaching in these groups of people. We rise by lifting others. And when everybody around us, a lot of people are like, they can't believe that I give away all that stuff for free. It's similar to what I'm doing here on this show. It's like we're providing value and building trust. I know what I'm talking about. So when I share it somewhere publicly and people are like, wow, now they know, like, and trust me. Yeah. So they're willing to, look at my profile or something like that. And at some point, somebody might need something because I provided value. So that's how we want to think all day long. How can I provide as much value as possible and participate in this thing called life? Yeah. And along the way, when we build that trust and provide value, then out the bottom comes, business, but if nothing else, at least relationships.
That's an energy that everyone wants to bottle, right? That whole, we rise by lifting others. If everyone could live in that way, just think how much more engagement, productivity, innovation, safety, like you name it, everything that we try and achieve in our lives would be climbing, rather than what we sadly see, which is some people are just covering their own back and not really worried about their neighbor, and they're kind of guarded in holding their knowledge in the organization, or afraid of doing this over here because they don't know how, and that's what creates all of the externalities in a negative direction.
It does. And those people stay stuck. You can only get so far with that mindset. It's a limited mindset. And we're all one. Yeah. All of the problems in the world are coming because of people outside of this whole that we are. We're all one. Not black, white, gay, purple, whatever it is that you want to call yourself. That's when the separation happens. And that's when there's war and fighting and protests and all that crap. Yeah. When we realize that we're all just here together, we're all in the same game called life. And when we move with that mindset, everything just goes so much smoother. You drop the ego and just like, I'm here to help you. And if you don't help me back, I have a lot of people, like, I share all this stuff that I know with, and some of them just take it and use me and become competitors. Some of them, but whatever. Yeah. And then some of them become my best allies and closest friends and business partners. So
yeah. And going back to your earlier point, sometimes if your work's so good that someone wants to steal it and go and do it somewhere else, maybe that in another way, that's you just spreading your good work in a way that you couldn't scale yourself. So you can be pretty philosophical about that.
Well, let's go back to the 50 or 80 years ago. That was a big problem back then because we only had the 50,000 people. So if you had 2 or 3 people come in and steal all your ideas, now you only have 10,000 potentially. Yeah. Not all those 10,000 people are going to spend money or even have money. But there's now 5 billion people. So if somebody steals my stuff, now I only have 4,800,000 million left. Yeah. That I can reach, So it's like, go ahead, steal my stuff.
Opportunity is unlimited in that scene.
Yeah. But what that requires is a constant moving and changing. And that's why you have to always be learning, always seeing what's going on. What I hate? I used to hate so much, and I still don't love commercials. Yeah. I don't love commercials, and I always skip. I wouldn't watch anything, including sports, even if unless it was pre-recorded and I
Yep.
could fast forward to commercials. Now what I do is I watch commercials because I want to see what my competitors are doing, how they're attracting people to their business. What's their hook line? What's their call to action on the bottom? What are they doing to attract new clients? Because I need to know that.
Yeah.
So I had that mind, a marketing mind, so I know what to look for when I'm doing that. But the only way I know how to do that is because I've been doing that. So if you start paying attention to what your competitors are doing, then you can start copying them too, and then find your own unique value proposition and your own unique angle to get new business.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah, it does. And it should be open like that, because that's where the innovation and the impact is going to come from over time. There's never one right way to do anything. So we should be encouraging difference, leaning into difference, and seeing what we get. I mean, this has been an awesome conversation, Dennis. I've really loved the energy from the get-go, with sort of the way that you talked about success breeds success, and we rise by lifting others. I love the way that that's a driver of the work that you do. You talked a lot about mastering life, taking a bit more control, even if that's just how you choose to start your day, or whether you choose to sit in a cubicle or drive to work. Everyone can kind of find their thing. And I really like the way that you walked us through sort of your journey, and how the entrepreneurial journey is not an easy one, but it can be very enlightening and uplifting. And I think in this era that we're in right now with technology, the way you shaped technology I love the word you used, it can supplement but not substitute. So if it's supplementing that human connection, like you said, 15, 20 years ago, it was all about how a business set its website or its digital platform. But now human connection can actually drive a lot. So much good stuff there. And I would say the final point, and probably my biggest takeaway, and you keep coming back to it very consistently, is this one on seamless workflow. And I think you can apply that, whether you're a small entrepreneur, whether you're a vice president of talent or a CEO of a large business. If you're thinking about your workflow and creating that seamlessness, creating ease, clarity, understanding to bring people through, that's got to be a huge lift for any team in the future.
It is. Like, you have to think of yourself as the consumer.
Yeah.
What is my experience? It's not that hard, but nobody does it. Like,
no one's intentional.
No one's intentionally doing it. Put yourself through the sales process and see where there's a break in the flow and fix that.
Yeah.
And then now that's going to set you apart from 9 out of 10 of your competitors.
Which is powerful. That's super powerful. So thanks for joining us today, Dennis. If any of our listeners aren't already following you, because you've got a few, how do they find you? Where do they best find your work and connect with you?
Yes, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, so that's where I spend most of my social media time. I'll be venturing into new platforms soon, but cool. And the best way to contact me outside of there is at my website, which is dennisberry.com, and we could set up a time to talk. I love talking with new people, and just come say hi sometime. Drop in. I always love it. I love building new relationships and making new connections. Always.
Me too. Well, let's definitely keep building on this connection, Dennis. And thanks again for joining me.
Thank you, Dane. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us. Remember that by embracing vulnerability, trusting our intuition, and approaching challenges with compassion, we not only strengthen our teams, but also pave the way for a future where collaboration thrives. If you're hungry for more insights, strategies, and research on collaboration, head over to thefutureofteamwork.com. There, you can join our mailing list to stay updated with the latest episodes and get access to exclusive content tailored to make your team thrive. Together, we can build the future of teamwork. Until next time.